Okay, first of all, about myself, you may have read my name in all the emails that were sent around, because I'm one of the co-organizers here of this event, but I just arrived yesterday because I had some stuff to do also with blockchain in Munich, so sorry for being late. Well, I'm at the Technical University of Munich, and I work there as a postdoctoral researcher right now in our blockchain research group. And you may wonder what the blockchain research group is all about. We are people from both management, research, and also computer science. And what we do is basically this stuff here. So we look at the potential of blockchain technologies for different industries, for different functions, for different business models, and try to evaluate from an economic perspective what will blockchain bring to organizations, what kind of business models will there be, and also what kind of emerging landscapes do we have. We also do our own programming. So we have built our own kind of blockchain environment where we run experiments. And what you can see here is our blockchain admin console. That means this is kind of the cockpit from where we can alter our own blockchain. So for example, we have here our proof of work settings. So we set, for example, the number of zeros from 0 to 4. And so we change different parameters and look at how they affect the transactions of people that have this wallet. So the admin console is basically for creating different kind of parameters of the blockchain, and then from the wallet that everyone gets in our experiments, we can then see and track the different behaviors that people show as a result of the different parameters. So for example, here we have anonymity, so you can change whether people actually know who you are transacting with, or whether it's just a key, public key, or whether it's completely anonymous. So it's a kind of resembling cryptocurrencies like Dash, Monero, Zcash, and so on, where you have different kinds of, or different levels of anonymity. Also, we have here the possibility of delaying transactions, so we can see how people react when a transaction is not done immediately, but for example, only after some minutes, after some hours, and so on and so on. So this is a kind of an experimental kind of cockpit. Yeah?
What engine are you using?
Sorry?
Is it Ethereum engine?
No, it's just built on the Naive chain. It's a fork of the Naive chain. Yeah, it's a very, very simple blockchain setup. It's not Ethereum. It's kind of our own, because Ethereum, we thought about that, but then it's really hard to really alter all these things in Ethereum. It's not possible. If you're not in the Ethereum Foundation, of course. So as we are not, we built really our own blockchain environment to do all this stuff. And then as a participant, you have your own wallet. This is your blockchain wallet. This is just a screenshot of the wallet, and here you can see the actual transactions that people have or people make with our TUM coin. So we have our own coin that we designed. And we give it to people, and then we look at, okay, how do they transact with another? How is kind of their behavior changing as a result of different blockchain parameter settings? So in these experiments, we just look at, okay, what kind of cryptocurrency environment, what kind of blockchain environment do we need to build to have people change their transactional behaviors, for example. And also we consider stability of different blockchains. Okay, so very quickly, as an introduction, what we have done here in our research is really to look at the competitive business models that are emerging right now. And as you know, there is a huge hype around blockchain also in the corporate world, and people are concerned about, okay, what kind of blockchain can we use for any use case in our firm? Can we blockchainize everything that we have? Okay. And most firms are really, that I talk to, like SAP, Microsoft and so on, they're mostly interested, of course, less in the public, but more in the private blockchain sector. So really look at all these consortia and how can we kind of sell SAP blockchains or Hyperledger and so on and so on. And what we wanted to tackle or address in our research was really the startup environment that is out there right now. And I want to show you just our research that will appear in 2018 in January. We'll present it at one of the computer science conferences, the HICS, the Hawaii Conference on System Sciences. And what we've looked at here is we have looked at how are blockchain startups distributed across different sectors, industry sectors, and also what is the current distribution of funds around them. And as you might know, there is not just one kind of industry where we have blockchain applications, but we have very, very different areas of blockchain technology. So for example, we have payment, of course, or the finance sector, but also logistics, also advertising, online marketing, social networking, and so on. So many, many startups here. And one could get the impression that all the industries are kind of permeated with that, and VCs give out large amounts of money. But as we will see, that's not really the case. So what we did was we compiled all the blockchain startup databases. So there are databases out there, for example, Blockchain Angels, Venture Radar, Crunchbase, and so on. And we merged all the data sets out there and figured out the VC and funding data, and also created a huge database that we also update, where we look at, okay, what is the funding right now? How many startups are there out there, and what are the different sectors? And here's a result of this research. And as you can see, still, although I've shown you all the different kinds of use cases, business landscapes, and so on, the really overwhelming majority is really finance and insurance. So really cryptocurrencies, payments, and so on and so on. And the second largest is information communication, and they together make up really the large, like almost 3/3, even more than 3/3 of the whole market. And all the other things are really, really nascent. So we have a huge distribution, or we have a distribution which is quite uniform and concentrates really on these two things. Information communication is mostly like infrastructure, blockchain infrastructure, and the rest here is just coming. But also what we notice is that things like public services, media industry, and so on, they are also up and rising. So if you're planning to do some stuff here, then I would really advise you to go more into these niches here, like what is really coming is e-government, media industry, retailing, and so on. And the market is, of course, quite full here. Here you can see the VC funding distribution, which is quite interesting. So what you see here is, of course, most funding has been allocated to finance and insurance, information communication, of course, but also you can see professional services, like 20 million USD. That means that lots of people are out there doing just consulting on blockchain technology, and they have really high valuation here also. And a very large average funding if you compare it also to other things. This is just consulting and not a real business behind that. But also what you can see here, public services, which is kind of a new, kind of emerging field, also has already received kinds of large VC funding. And also here, aviation, space, energy, and so on, there's not that much out there right now. So once again, I think here we can clearly see where the chances are also at. Okay, here I've just tried to zoom in just in the financial sector to show you the breadth of what is out there alone, just only the financial sector. So this is the breakup of the number of startups buy products and services just in the category of finance and insurance. And most of the stuff is really exchanges, trading. And you can just see that there's lots of other things going on, like ATMs, infrastructure, and so on and so on. So very, very different use cases. And the question is, of course, how many of these startups will survive? Jamie Berkey, who you may know from Convergence, said that, of course, as we all know, how many startups will fail from these? What is the percentage of startups that will fail? What do you think? 80? Yeah. Other guesses? 90? Okay. He says 99% of blockchain startups will fail. Very pessimistic. Okay. I don't know whether you share that opinion, but I think it's somewhere in the realm of this. So actually, to be a little bit more optimistic, the question is whether all of them will fail more due to kind of organizational issues or people pursuing other stuff, okay? But still, of course, we will see a consolidation of the market, because right now, of course, it's not really feasible to have all these different industries, all these different use cases, and so on, presented here. Okay, what we also see is here a distribution around the world, so we try to tackle that and address that, okay? Where actually do we have all the blockchain startups? And of course, the center is the US and UK. But also you can see Europe, Eastern Europe, China, also Latin America, which I personally didn't know. So lots of stuff also going on in Brazil. But still, it's the usual suspects that you would also suspect. Okay, now the question is, of course, is blockchain a kind of a hype? Will it go away like other things that went away, or will it stay? And what we have done here is based on the very influential research by Rogers, who has done research on the question, when do new innovations really diffuse in the public? So is an innovation just something for a few selected people? Or will innovation like the internet or telephone or other things really diffuse in the public? And he has created 5 criteria, and I will show you using these 5 criteria to which extent they apply or which extent they are true for the blockchain. So the first criterion of Rogers is the relative advantage. The question whether or not an technology has a new kind of advantage over and above existing stuff. And in our view, what we saw from our research is, of course, the blockchain technology has a huge advantage, or has many huge advantages, like decentralization, all these things that you know, that are cheaper, faster, and also more secure than existing technologies. So there is a potential for that. The second criterion is compatibility. So to which extent is blockchain technology really compatible with the existing mindset of people out there? So not here, not like the tech industry, not like the real nerds, but out there, like people on the street, my mother, for example. And here we have to say that right now it's really a different mindset. So we really need a paradigm shift in people's thinking for joining these kind of business models, or also for using blockchain-based services. Okay, so only when my mother is going to use blockchain-based eBay, like Open Bazaar or so, only then can we talk about a diffusion of technology into the whole society. But right now, this would really require a paradigm shift, a mindset shift. Because right now, people would say, when I do keynotes, for example, I went to SAP in last June, and then people told me, well, what do I need this for? I just use Amazon, I use eBay, I use Uber, that's all fine. Why do I need a blockchain-based Uber? Why do I need anything like that? And the question right now, of course, is, or the answer is, no, right now, maybe Open Bazaar is not the place to go if you want to have, if you want to buy, I don't know, your furniture or so. But this is what we mean by this paradigm shift. Okay, then simplicity. So how simple is it? And here the answer is quite clear. Relatively complex. So problem is how to transfer all this stuff and also how to make it usable. Right now, people like in society will not really use blockchain-based services because they're really hard to understand. You have to invest at least, I don't know, several months to understand all this stuff and also to understand all the advantages and disadvantages and so on and so on. So even people buying cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and so on, who really runs their own node or so on. Most people have it on Coinbase somewhere, so it's kind of a simplification that is needed here. Trialability is the fourth criterion for innovation diffusion. What do you think, trialability? Trialability is quite high. Why is that? Because as we saw, many industries, many use cases are created. So for example, if you look around and also if you are looking forward to the pitch presentations today, you will see that there are lots of use cases out there. So trialability is quite high. People really want to try something. It's possible to try lots of stuff. So this gives a kind of an optimistic view and may lead to higher diffusion of blockchain. And what about observability? Observability is the question of whether people really observe blockchain or other technologies right now and can feel them and can touch them. And of course, right now, it's very hard for people on the street to imagine what is blockchain all about. You see maybe a hashed key or so, but then you can't really touch it, you can't interact with that. And that's of course quite low right now. Because you really have to have this knowledge and all this investment in thinking about that. And only when blockchain technology and all these applications will be really usable, will have a usability that is comparable to things that we use today, like laptops and so on, only then will it really diffuse. Okay, I will close with 3 predictions that I will make, and they are quite bold, and I hope they will be interesting for you, and also I hope you will think about them and also maybe disagree with me. Okay, first of all, this is one of prediction for the future. I think that really many applications will disintermediate very simple middleman business models. So we see it today, for example, with Uber and other platform models that really gain the large lion's share of people's transactions. And here is Lazus. Who of you knows Lazus already? Okay, not too many. So Lazus is like the blockchain version, the decentralized version of Uber. It's run in the United States and also in Israel. And people can based on the blockchain technology, rent rides. So for example, you're a taxi driver and you don't use Uber, but you just use Lazus in a decentralized fashion to collect your rides and also to give rides to others, okay? So as a taxi driver. And I think that this kind of technology, when we have all the things like mobile, like D-apps, which are quite rare right now, so we also programmed our own D-app, and we saw that it's really hard to do this, and it's also the documentation is really bad, I must say, for Ethereum. Okay, but it's on a side note, it's really hard right now to have mobile applications, D-apps, run the blockchain. But still, I think as soon as we have that, then these things will be possible and the middleman will be cut out. But I think this is a more 5 to 10 years or so from now at minimum. Another example here is OpenBazaar that I just mentioned before. So this is kind of the Amazon or eBay in a decentralized way. So OpenBazaar is a decentralized marketplace. So there is no central platform like eBay. So or right now you have Amazon and Visa as the platforms for selecting your products and also for paying. Okay, so you see this here, and you have also always this middleman who collects your money and also your data. And with OpenBazaar, it's possible you run your own node and you also do transactions there. Okay, so based on Bitcoin, buy your furniture, buy your car, whatever. The question is, who of you, and you are quite educated on blockchain, would actually use OpenBazaar right now to buy, for example, I don't know, a laptop, a car, Furniture? Furniture? Really? Okay. Who has used it before? Sorry? I can't hear you. Yeah. The volatility? Yeah, exactly. Volatility is a problem. What else? Warranty, exactly. Warranty legislation. Who will pay if the person doesn't deliver, right? What else?
Fraud detection or protection?
Yeah, fraud detection, exactly. So all these questions that you raise, all these issues, they're all real and they're not solved yet. So I personally, I also wouldn't probably buy something that is very valuable, like a car, furniture, whatever, using OpenBazaar. You know? But it exists and people are there, you can try it, I've tried it, it's possible, but the user interface is really, really bad, okay? So the question is, why should I use this instead of this? Right now, there is, for me at least, no real reason. Maybe you have a reason for me. That's exactly the thing that we're talking about. So this diffusion, why should I actually use it, is not really answered yet. And I think we need some more time to do that. Yeah?
This isn't the core proposition. By cutting off the middleman, it's cheaper for both parties.
Exactly, yeah.
So you somehow have to prove that it is cheaper. If it's not cheaper, not.
Exactly, yeah. So it may be cheaper right now, but also with the warranty, with the fraud and so on, you just have risks. So it levels out somewhere. You also
Market access is like a thing.
Yeah.
So if you buy anything from China, it can be really useful.
Exactly.
Iran or like countries where there's no and so on.
Yeah. So market access, would you say, is a positive thing then, or yeah?
Yes. Alibaba doesn't have trade insurance. Like your risk, you rely on.
Yeah. Okay, but Alibaba is a special case, I would say, for China. I mean, in China, I bought Alibaba myself when I was in China, but there it's a little bit, I would say, more a trust issue. You just say, well, I trust Alibaba as I trust the PRC. But okay, that's another thing, yeah. Okay, next proposition, and I think you will agree with me on that, because if you don't agree, you won't be here. Blockchain will unfold its whole potential only with the convergence, or more and more with the convergence of other technologies. So what we see right now, also why we organized this IoT Summer Camp, is exactly for that. We believe that blockchain will really unfold its potential when we combine it with IoT, with other technologies. And you can see all the buzzwords here, and you know all the projects that are worked on. And I think this is really one kind of gateway, or what kind of way how blockchain can actually diffuse into real life, into the whole society. Because just on its own, it's quite abstract, it's quite hard also to grasp, and really the advantages are not that open, or not that observable. But when we use all these use cases, like what we have here, also the 14 teams, you can actually see what advantages we have, and I think this will be a huge enabler for the blockchain, also for DLT. Okay, and the third and most bold proposition that I will make is that blockchain in the end, or somewhere in the future, will really enable decentralized marketplaces of professionals and replace organizations as we know them today. I don't know who has heard of LaborX, the time token? No one? Okay. So LaborX and the time token that they built is really a project to realize a decentralized marketplace of professionals. So right now you have all these platforms like Upwork, for example, or Elance, where you again have a middleman, right? And also if we are working for firms, for large corporations, for startups, of course we also have some middlemen or some hierarchy. We have both hierarchy and middlemen. And what LaborX is working on is really on independent freelancers and professionals working on stuff, working on, I don't know, code, doing design, everything that you can imagine that people can work on. And then transacting these things using the time token Ethereum, based on Ethereum. That means that in the end, what you can do here is create a decentralized marketplace of individuals that are no longer bound to organizations. So you are your own freelancer, as you are right now, but then you not only cut away the middleman or the hierarchy like in an organization, but also you cut away the platform like Upwork or Elance that also takes some commission. So what they are really envisioning is exactly this thing, and I would say that really this is one of the quite open and bold things, which I won't know whether or not they will become true, but I think that the technology actually has the potential to create such decentralized marketplaces, and people will be working much more on their own and be their own entrepreneur without all the risks that you have, because this will be kind of a normality in the future if this comes true. Okay, what do you think about that? Is that too bold? What are your thoughts about that? Yeah.
Depends on the paying method to implement. Like you have a proof of work, you have to check the work the person is doing and say, okay, I pay now 50% or something, but this is maybe the problem to get an idea when the job is finished and when is the paying happening.
Yeah.
So maybe we say pay out front of something and then the rest something is delivered, and this is a kind of system you have to put into this, I think.
Exactly, you have to have some proof of your work, not proof of work, but proof of your work. And how will this be accomplished? Exactly, that's a huge issue, yeah?
I would mostly agree with the predictions. I would like to know, ask you more for a more bold assumption regarding the markets. Like which market do you think is most interesting at the moment, besides finance, besides infrastructure?
That's a good question. Do you mean more for public or for private blockchain, or for really like startup doing anything? That really depends on the realm.
I'm a big fan of logistics and energy infrastructure. So this is where I believe there's the highest value for blockchain use if the technology is ready. I just want to see or hear your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So in my opinion, energy is actually a real large opportunity, because people now have all the photovoltaic and so on. So this will be a large opportunity. Logistics, I'm not quite sure. I'm just not too much into it. But I think also media will really be a large industry, or really be a large potential. So we also have a project on that, and we see that there will be quite a next disruption. Yeah.
And which companies in those industries are the most fit and knowledgeable and as well ready from their mindset to adopt it?
Which large companies or startups?
Companies.
Large companies? I mean, Spotify just now bought some blockchain startup, which I don't remember the name, but I think they are really on the outlook of am I being disrupted now? But it's the only case I know. I don't know about the others, I must say. Okay, yeah.
You said 99% of startups will fail. If there is 1% startups, that will succeed, that could succeed, and what are those areas could be?
Yeah.
And what would be that criteria of success? What do you see?
Okay.
Will succeed?
So the question was, which startups will succeed if 99% will fail? What are the criteria? That's a very good question. If I knew that, I would invest right now, but I also can look into the future. From the research, we of course know that most of the thing is team VC backing. These are the most interesting or like most successful ingredients for that. Team, VC backing, and of course product quality, but this comes with the team. So
sector not identified, like a financial sector succeed or energy sector, so that kind of a prediction we're not able to do.
I wouldn't say that a special sector is really prone to generating more value. I think you can succeed in any sector. Okay, great. With that, I want to close. thank you very much for your attention. And I'm of course open to questions if you have more questions. We discussed already some of these questions. And other than that, if you're interested in knowing more and also engaging with us, please contact me. And you can also see this on our website. It's just blockchain.tum, like the University of Munich, .de. And there on this website you will see all the blockchain research groups, activities and contact and projects and so on. Okay, then thank you very much and open for questions.